What's up everybody, it's Greg and welcome back to my channel where we talk about candle making and pretty much anything made out of wax. Today we're going to be going over wickless testing. What is it? Why do we do it? And most importantly, how do you do it? So what is wickless testing? You can't really test your candle without a wick because you need to light it on fire. Can't light it on fire unless it has a wick. So we will be using a wick. We're just going to be setting this test up a little bit different than normal. You're going to go ahead and heat your wax and mix your fragrance oil as usual. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pour your mixture into a vessel that has no wick. So just an empty vessel. It's going to end up looking like a cup full of wax at the end. Then once this sets up, you're going to go ahead and insert your first wick. This allows us to easily swap wicks in and out when we don't know exactly which wick we want to use for this particular design. So in the beginning, when you're testing out a new vessel, you really don't know what size wick you're really going to need. You can go by the guides and you can get close, but for everyone it's going to be a little bit different, and you might not hit the right wick on the first try. So instead of just throwing this candle away, which has all this material in it and it's perfectly good, what you can do now is just pull that wick out and insert another one up or down in size and see if that one works. Now, why do we do it? Well, I referred to it a little bit in step one. It's because we don't want to waste this whole candle. If we would have poured this with a wick that doesn't work, and we instantly know it doesn't work because it's either shooting flames off or it just died instantly, now what are we going to do? We're going to set this candle to the side. It's going to go to the graveyard and it'll probably sit there for a couple months before it gets cleaned out. So it saves time and it saves money. So instead of just throwing this candle out and pouring a new one and waiting another 2 weeks for it to cure before you can start your new test, you can just pop your wick out, heat gun the top, and you're ready to test right away. Now we come to the fun part. How do you do it? Well, you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need a wick trimmer. I use a pair of dog nail clippers because they're just sharper and they help me with the coated wax here in the beginning. After my first burn, I usually use a wick trimmer, a traditional wick trimmer, but in the beginning I'm always going to be using these dog trimmers just because they're sharper and they're much easier to get a good cut. You're going to need something like a poker here. I use a stick thermometer, old stick thermometer, because that's about all these things are good for. And then you're going to need your wick. I'm going to do a cotton wick, and then I'll show you guys also a wood wick. Wood wicks are a little bit easier because they're a little bit more sturdy. Alright, so you've poured your candle mixture into your empty vessel, and now you have a candle that looks like this. It's actually just a cup of wax. And what you're going to do now is you're going to take your poker and you're going to get as close to the center as possible. Easier said than done, especially on camera. And then you're going to kind of make a little bit of a hole there and then just check it. Make sure you're right there on center. So I'm not that close. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a new. And don't be afraid of jacking this top up a little bit because you're going to go ahead and heat gun this at the end. So we're going to go ahead and get a little bit better of a mark here. So I'm thinking that's a little bit closer to center, and we'll just go all the way straight down. So now I have my guide hole. It's pretty centered, and now I can go ahead and insert my first wick choice. How I do that is I turn it upside down, and I'll just stick it straight down the center there until it hits the bottom. Try to make it go all the way to the bottom, because then if this does end up working, you getting it down to the bottom will give you the most amount of test possible. Then I go ahead and I'll trim it. I won't trim it to where I really want it. I'll trim it a little bit high. That way when I heat gun it, it doesn't like end up too short. Is where I have to pull it up. Now what is a very important part that you're not going to want to forget here is you're going to want to heat gun this now. What heat gunning is going to do is going to fill in any air pockets that you might have created by making your hole, and it's going to lock your wick in place so it doesn't move up and down. Now let's say you went and did your first burn test, you lit it up and it didn't work. That happens. A lot of the percentage of the time that happens. So what you're going to do is you're just going to simply pull that wick out, get a new wick, and put it right in. Now you're going to heat gun the top. Every time you pull a wick in and out, you're going to want to heat gun this top because you're going to want to give everything a fair chance. If this one tunneled the candle, you don't want to just replace the wick and still have that tunnel ring, and then your second wick is now trying to fight the tunnel ring from the previous wick. You want to give each wick its own fair fighting chance. Alright, let's go ahead and try to do this with a wood wick now. So wood wicks are a little bit easier because they're firmer, but they have a tendency to go askew a little bit. So they might like go to the side, and if you start going like this, you can see how it's a little tilted. By the time you get down to the bottom, you're gonna have a really tilted wick. So make sure, take some time to make sure it goes in straight. And I look to make sure it's straight down in the middle of the jar like this, and then I'll go ahead and I'll turn it, and I'll make sure we're straight over this way. And then you just push it straight down, and don't be afraid to, see how that's a little bit crooked? Don't be afraid to pull this in and out. Because you're gonna be heat gunning it, everything's gonna go back to normal. So you can make a pretty decent size hole. It's a lot better. So I've got straight right there. And then all I would do is I would just go ahead and trim that right there and heat gun the top. And again, you would go ahead and light up your first wick choice. If it works, perfect. If it doesn't, you can just simply take a pair of needle nose pliers, is what I use, grab down there and pull it out. Grab a new one, smaller, bigger, whatever you think you need. And down it goes. Heat gun the top, and you're good for another test right away. No waiting for cure times, no pouring a new candle, no wasting and wasting and wasting, ending up with all these candles in the candle graveyard. Alright guys, that was wickless testing. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found this video informational, educational, or entertaining, hit that subscribe button, and I'll be back for more. Alright guys, that was wickless testing. Maybe I don't have to yell at you guys. Maybe we could just talk in a normal tone. Alright, here we go, one more time. Great.